For nearly 3 million years, we humans, we absolutely were not the masters of this planet. We were prey, we were cold, we were incredibly vulnerable. Just picture a world where every city, nation, and empire that would ever exist could literally be wiped out by a single harsh winter. We were just another struggling species, vastly outnumbered in the brutal, freezing darkness of the Ice Age. But then, an Ice Age predator crossed an invisible line and formed a partnership that would completely alter the future of every human being who would ever live. Let's get right into it. Now, we're not just looking at a standard history lesson today. Think of this more like opening a cold case from deep time. See, when we think of technology, we immediately picture gears, microchips, or the wheel, right? But long before any of that, we developed a living, breathing piece of tech. So the big question we have to ask ourselves is, why does humanity's absolute oldest technology actually have a heartbeat?
An Ice Age mystery, the 20,000-year-old cold case. To really wrap our heads around this, we have to set the scene. Imagine Eurasia 20 millennia ago. It's a landscape totally dominated by mammoths, cave lions, and massive glaciers. And humans? We were just fragile hunter-gatherers. Now, think about the timeline of early human history, because the math is honestly kind of impossible. You've got the last glacial maximum way back at 40,000 years ago. Fast forward, and around 10,000 years ago, boom, agriculture begins. But right there in the middle, at least 15,000 years ago, the first dogs appear. Think about that. Dogs existed thousands of years before we even figured out how to domesticate our own food. They are literally older than civilization itself.
And that right there brings us to a massive, glaring contradiction. I mean, why on earth would humans domesticate a predator before they domesticated food? We were struggling just to survive. We were starving, freezing, and we supposedly just decided to team up with a highly dangerous meat-eating predator? It completely goes against every single rule of basic survival. So, to solve this mystery, we have to look closely at the hard evidence left behind in the dirt. Which brings us the crime scene evidence, uncovering the first clues. If we treat this whole thing like a forensic investigation, the dirt of Eurasia is basically our crime scene, and the primary evidence we find completely flips our understanding of early humans. Take a second and think about the number 14,000. 14,000 years ago, an incredibly profound event took place in what we now call Germany. It led to one of the most remarkable discoveries in modern archaeology, the Bonn-Oberkassel puppy.
Now, this wasn't just some random dog bone tossed into a trash pit. Not at all. The Bonn-Oberkassel puppy was intentionally buried, honored, and clearly mourned right alongside human beings. But here is the real forensic twist. This puppy showed clear evidence of severe illness. It survived multiple life-threatening infections, and researchers concluded it only lived as long as it did for one reason. Humans were actively caring for it. They were literally nursing a sick animal back to health. This completely proves that 14,000 years ago, the bond between humans and dogs wasn't just some practical working arrangement. It was already deeply, deeply emotional.
The suspects, how domestication actually happened.
Okay, so if the bond was already this incredibly strong before we even had farms, how did the relationship actually start? Well, for a long time, we had this traditional explanation. Theory 1, stolen pups. It's this romanticized idea that humans boldly marched out into the wild, stole some wolf puppies, and just raised them. But frankly, this theory has some major flaws. Wolf pups grow into dangerous, unpredictable wolves. Taming them would have required thousands of generations of active, intentional breeding by humans who are already starving. It just doesn't add up. Now compare that to Theory 2, self-domestication. This right here is the modern, scientifically backed suspect.
Self-domestication follows a brilliant, really logical progression. Step 1, human camps naturally leave behind bones, fat, and food scraps. Now, most wolves, they're terrified of humans. They run away. But the slightly less aggressive, more curious wolves decide to stick around the edges of the camp to eat those scraps. Step 2, those friendliest wolves get way more calories, they survive the harsh winters better, and so they have more offspring. Step 3, generation after generation, natural selection specifically rewards that friendliness. Step 4, the wolves essentially change themselves. So you see, the very first dogs weren't made by humans at all. They evolved naturally because living near us was just flat out easier than starving out in the frozen wilderness.
But wait, there's a massive twist in our cold case here, and we only know this thanks to the ancient DNA revolution. Modern dogs, they do not actually descend from modern wolves. Their true ancestor is entirely extinct.
Scientists analyzed hundreds of ancient genomes and discovered that dogs actually come from a very specific, lost lineage of Ice Age wolves. That original wolf population that walked up to our fires and forged this alliance, it's gone forever. The animal that literally built civilization no longer exists in the wild. Only its children remain, probably snoring on our couches right now. Humanity's first technology, the ultimate survival machine.
Once this extinct wolf lineage fully transformed into early dogs, our species gained an unbelievable evolutionary edge. Seriously, we really need to completely redefine how we view them. Think about the concept of biological technology, utilizing living organisms to enhance your survival, your efficiency, and your dominance over the environment. Under this definition, dogs were not humanity's first pet, not even close. They were humanity's first technology, a living, breathing tool that directly and permanently altered the course of human history.
So what exactly were the tech specs of this biological upgrade? Well, think about it. A human hunter can only sleep with 2 eyes closed, but suddenly a human group with dogs has 4 extra eyes keeping watch, 4 extra ears. You instantly have an early warning alarm system against cave lions. You've got an elite tracker to find wounded prey buried deep in the snow, and you have a dedicated, fearless bodyguard to protect the children in the camp. For tens of thousands of years, humans and dogs didn't just live near each other. They operated as a single, highly optimized survival machine.
And that brings us to a rather shocking realization about who we are today. Look, civilization fundamentally required 3 main things to ever get off the ground: population growth, food stability, and security. Long-distance migration and establishing secure camps were basically impossible without the massive advantages those dogs provided. In fact, the first successful human expansion straight across Eurasia overlaps directly with the exact period when dogs became widespread. The hard truth is, human civilization itself may not have ever been possible without them. They provided the absolute foundation of security that was required to build the modern world.
The philosophical conclusion, the ancient alliance.
So let's pull this deep time narrative all the way back to the present day. 1 billion. Today, there are roughly 1 billion dogs living on Earth. And the truly incredible thing is, whether we're talking about a husky pulling a sled, a golden retriever, or a tiny little chihuahua, every single one of those billion dogs traces its roots back to that one specific Ice Age relationship. A fragile relationship forged in the freezing dark, long before nations, writing, religion, or even farms ever existed.
You know, the oldest technology in your home right now probably isn't your smartphone or your computer. It might actually be your dog. We tend to think of ourselves as so modern, so incredibly advanced, but if you have a dog sitting next to you right now, you are literally looking at a living artifact. You're looking at a highly evolved specialist that spent tens of thousands of years learning to read your facial expressions, your hand gestures, even the direction of your eyes. They are the surviving remnant of our oldest and arguably greatest alliance.
For almost all of Earth's history, the rule has been simple. Predators kill other predators. Competition and fear are the absolute laws of nature. But somewhere, out in the deep, freezing darkness of the Ice Age, a wolf approached a human fire. The human didn't throw a spear. The wolf didn't bare its teeth. For one brief, impossible moment in deep time, 2 predators actively chose cooperation over fear. And honestly, every city, every empire, every road, and every skyscraper you see outside your window today was born from that single campfire decision. So I'll leave you with this one question to think about. If we hadn't shared our fire with that wolf, would we even be here to tell the story? Thanks for joining me.
If you enjoyed this journey through deep time, like, share, and subscribe, and join us